Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fine Disaster. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be taking a closer look at the M1907 SL Sweeper, DMR exclusively available, of course, to the medic class in Battlefield 1. We're going to be looking at its base stats, strength and weaknesses, associated and ideal playstyle, and of course, when and if you should be using this weapon. Starting off with the stats of the M1907 SL Sweeper, as we usually do then, with a damage model of a maximum of 42 and a minimum damage of 23, we've got a clear, relatively heavy hitting, close quarter orientated rifle that will do a 3-shot kill in close quarter, eventually trailing off to a 4 and 5-shot kill at longer ranges. The fire rate is very high for DMRs in this game at 299 rounds per minute. What this essentially means is that you will be able to pack a serious punch in close quarter combat. The muzzle velocity, somewhat to compensate for this, is very low for DMR at 570 meters per second. This shouldn't hinder your performance too much in close to medium range encounters where this weapon is at home. However, if you're going to try and go for the long range snipes, which admittedly this weapon is not ideal for doing so, you're going to find that this muzzle velocity could prove to be a little bit of a hindrance when trying to track or shoot moving targets. The magazine size, on the other hand, is very high. At 20 plus 1, 21 rounds in total, you can go pretty much through an entire squad before having to reload this gun. And the reload, once you do reload, is going to be relatively quick. With a short reload, that is with 1 or more bullets left in your magazine, it's at 2.3 seconds, relatively competitive. And the long reload, while a little bit longer at 3.5 seconds, isn't too bad considering that you're going to rarely hit this reload. Moving on then to the recoil, hefty for a close quarter DMR as expected, with 0.56 vertical, 0.42 to the left and right, and of course your usual one-shot multiplier of 1 as always with DMRs. It's going to kick, make it a little bit harder to shoot long-range targets with relatively fast fire rate. That's to say you can't really take advantage of your relatively fast fire rate when trying to hit long-range targets. However, in close quarter, the recoil is absolutely controllable, not a big deal, not noticeable, and not a hindrance to the performance of this weapon. Moving on then to the accuracy of this weapon, it's obviously not going to be as accurate as some of the medium long range geared DMRs in the game, but it's plentiful accurate for the purpose of what you need. With a base ADS that's while standing, aiming down sight, and not moving of 0.21, you should be hitting all of the targets you aim at least up to medium ranges. Its accuracy while moving for a DMR is obviously going to be very good, with an ADS of moving at 0.79, making strafing a very real possibility for medium range engagements, and a hipfire while standing and moving at 2.5, not the best in the game, admittedly, but still good enough to reliably hit targets, I'd say, under 7 meters. With that being said then, what is the general impression of this weapon? Well, the SL Sweeper is going to be an obvious competition to the Auto Loading Extended, and while I will do a video on that separately, fully comparing, exploring the differences between these weapons, it should be noted that the SL Sweeper is different to that of the Auto Loading. I'd say the Auto Loading is the more extreme close quarter variant of these two guns, with the SL Sweeper being a little bit more flexible in its playstyle, which is of course where we can now go and touch on playstyle. While this weapon is close quarter geared and does excel at it, you are still at a disadvantage using this weapon when going up against any assault player. Admittedly, you probably are with any of the DMRs, but more so with the SL Sweeper than maybe something like the Auto Loading 8.25 Extended. This comes down to the fact that its fire rate is just lower, and you should be mindful of that. The actual ideal situation, in my opinion, to be using the M1907 SL Sweeper is medium-ish close quarter ranges. I'd say maybe 25 to 15 meters. This is where you can really take advantage of this gun, because up to 27 meters you're still performing a 3-shot kill, and up to those ranges, I believe at least, the recoil is still very much manageable. When you start moving beyond those ranges, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble because you're hitting a 4 and 5-shot kill. You're dealing with the recoil that at those ranges becomes a little bit more difficult to control. The decreased ADS may prove difficult. You're also using iron sights, which of course isn't exactly the ideal situation to be shooting accurately. At least I don't find myself being as accurate with iron sights as I am, for example, with a proper scope on something like a Selbstlade M1916 Marksman. That's just the nature of me personally performing with the different gadgets, the different attachments, the different scopes. That may be different for you, but I'm guessing that most people will find it easier to aim with a proper scope. Now, if you go closer than the suggested range, say under 10 meters, what you're going to find is you're going to be coming up against shotgun and assault players, which simply have a faster time to kill. And while you can hipfire this weapon, so can they. So while you may still have an advantage or equal footing against somebody using an LMG, a support player, you're probably not going to be able to keep up with somebody using the assault class, which is where this kind of mixed combat range comes in between the true medium to long range and the close quarters. This is where you shine. This is where you can do a little bit of cover play, stay behind cover. But I do not want to give you an impression that you cannot go toe to toe and get into close quarter with this weapon. You absolutely can. You will see me in the video doing it very frequently, running in there, hip firing people down. It's absolutely a possibility, and you should find yourself not too limited by the gun. It's just not maybe the ideal situation to use this weapon in. So as said, my suggested ideal combat range is close medium range. You can, however, use this weapon relatively comfortable at close quarter well. At longer ranges, things become a little bit more difficult. Now, a 5-shot kill may not sound too difficult, considering that you've got a fire rate close to 300 rounds per minute. But at the ranges where you're getting a 5-shot kill, this is around about 38 meters or above, you're going to actually not really have the recoil to use your full fire rate. In other words, you're going to have to artificially lower your fire rate to keep in control of your recoil. So I would suggest maybe staying away from longer range targets unless they're stationary or you find yourself in a relatively safe position. It is in most cases, sadly, a waste of ammunition. In some cases, however, you can get a lucky kill. It's not that this weapon doesn't perform at long range, it's just very difficult to actually get a kill successfully at long range if your enemy knows what they're doing. With that being said, let me know down below in the comments your experiences with the M1907 SL Sweeper. Is it your favorite medic weapon? Maybe your least favorite? How do you use it and how effective are you when using it? Feel free to tell me all about those experiences down below in the comments, as well, of course, your future video suggestions for Battlefield 1. But with all that being said, at this point, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.